What's going on, everybody? It's Comics for Cheap. I'm back with another video, and today's topic of discussion is going to be common courtesy and etiquette for comic book buying and comic book selling. So stay tuned. That's right. I've been wanting to do this video for a little while, and I actually opened up a poll on Instagram where you can follow me at Comics for Cheap. And I was kind of just asking the question, as a buyer, what is some common etiquette you expect from a seller of comic books, not only just online, but also in person at a convention or just in general if you're buying comics off someone, maybe at a shop. And then also as a seller, what is the etiquette for the buyer? Because it works both ways. So what are some common courtesy or etiquette that you would expect from someone who's buying from you, not only online, but also, in person? So we're going to get into that. But first, if you guys don't mind hitting that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, all that usual nonsense, and then we can jump into this list. All right, so we're going to start with etiquette as a seller. So if you are a seller of comic books, online, in person, at shows, you own a shop, everything like that, what is some good etiquette that you should have for your customers? So the number one response, of course, was honesty/transparency about your books. You should be able to know how to grade. You should be able to know and point out, talk about the defects. If you're doing it online, be able to show the customer plenty of pictures if they require pictures. If you're doing a live sale, if they're asking to see parts of the book again, absolutely do a condition check. As accurate as you can be. I like to undergrade. I'm very harsh on how I grade books that I sell. At least I try to be. I think that I am. So even if a book, unless I know for a fact it's near mint, I'll be like, near mint minus to be safe, or VF plus, or just so that when they get the book, they're not disappointed about grade, because you could be thinking that you're buying one thing and spending this amount of money, and then you end up getting the comic book into your possession, and it's not at all what you thought. And obviously grading can be a little bit subjective. You're not going to catch everything all the time, especially if you're dealing with a lot of books, but doing your best. And if you do miss something, just own up to it, be like, hey, you know what, I missed that. That actually happened to me recently one time, where I missed something inside of a book, that pages were stuck together that I sold. I was like, you know what, let me just send you back, nice partial refund. We got it taken care of, out of the way, no big deal. Because if you're not upfront about something, if you're not checking every single last bit of it, and your buyer's not happy with something that they got, you don't want to lose them as a customer forever. You want to make sure that you command and establish that relationship, and that they want to come back to you. They feel like they can still trust you, even if everyone's human, we all mess up, but even if that happens, you still want them to come back in the future. All right, the next thing that I was getting is that as a seller, you want to have clean hands and clean nails, so it don't look like you're just dirty grubbing on the books, right? And a nice clean setup area as far as selling. So your presentation wise, you want a nice layout. I do mine just on the floor, because I take pictures usually 4 books at a time. But if you have a nice dope setup, I see a lot of people have the little box or the all white background, which is really nice and sleek. However you want to do it, just to make it look like it's a little bit more professional, and you're not just holding a book or a blurry picture, or you got it up against some dog food or something like that. You still want the presentation to be nice. All right, here's a good one right here. Don't be condescending as a seller to a buyer who may not know as much as you know. So a lot of people were saying also that sellers should have a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge about comic books. You should be reading and keeping up, be reading some past stories, maybe keeping up with what's going on now, if that's what you're selling. But don't be condescending to someone who doesn't know, or who's looking to jump in, or maybe forgot something about a particular storyline or anything. We're all in this for fun. We all love reading and enjoying the stories. So again, you're no better than anyone else just because you happen to remember a certain story or you read a certain comic arc that someone else didn't. So keep that in mind when you're selling. You always want to educate. You don't want to degrade people. And lastly, and this is more for if you're an online seller, you need to know how to properly ship comic books if you are going to be selling comic books online. That means knowing how to box stuff up, how to keep stuff nice and safe, because once it is sold and it is sent and it's out of your hands, it's in the hands of people who do not care about your comic books until it reaches its final destination. And you don't want that package to arrive damaged, because then all that hard work of you hunting down the comic book, bagging and boarding it if it needed to, posting it, advertising, blah, 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 finally selling, collecting the money, packing it up, shipping it, all of that's going to be for nothing if it arrives damaged and you have to refund the customer the money. That's another thing. If books arrive damaged, you can blame USPS all you want. The fact of the matter is, you didn't pack it correctly. Refund your customer. If they partial refund, if it's just like a little bit, that's fine. If a slab arrives cracked, offer them a reholding fee or whatever. If they don't want that, refund and get the product back. This is not something that should be up for debate. I don't understand why I see this argument all the time online of a seller who doesn't want to refund the customer, saying that, well, that's not how I sent it. I didn't send it damaged. Well, moron, it arrived damaged because you didn't pack it correctly. So you got to do something about it. You know what I mean? So that is definitely a huge thing that you need to be able to do if you are selling comic books online, is the knowledge and the know-how to ship comic books. All right, now let's flip it around. Let's talk about as a buyer. As a buyer, what kind of etiquette should you have? And this one, of course, I posted this, like I said, I had the little poll up. The number one response that I got was payment on time. If you are a buyer, let me just tell you how I do something. If I'm looking to buy a big book, let's say multiple thousands of dollars of a book, before I claim or go to purchase or anything, I send a message to the seller and say, hey, what is your payment plan policy? Can we set something up? If I'm interested in a book, I have references, I have resources. I just don't have $2,000 ready to throw at you or something, whatever the number might be. You want to have good communication and establish the payment plan. Once you've established it, though, you need to pay on time. You need to pay what you said you were going to pay. And if it's what the seller is dictating to you, right? You never know what's going on. This could be what they're living on. It could be their week-to-week check. And if they say you need your payment in by Friday, then you need to pay them by Friday. They shouldn't have to hunt you down with multiple messages that you're duck, dive, dip, dodge, and dodge. That you're just dodging them all the time online because you don't want to pay them what you said you were going to pay them. It just makes no sense. So you need to be able to pay promptly and set up the payment plan beforehand so that you know exactly what the terms are and then follow through on what you said. Otherwise, it gets nasty. People get blocked, feelings get hurt, etc., etc. And then the seller has to resell the book that they sold to you, which is never a fun thing. So pay promptly. Another thing as a buyer that you just need to understand is the consideration for how much a seller is putting into selling the comic books, whether it's setting up at a show and all the time and effort that goes into making their booth look nice and presentable, all the money that they put into advertising and signage and everything like that, or if it's online, again, same kind of thing, all the hunting that they had to do, rebagging, boarding, prepping, taking all the pictures, sending them, their own advertisement that way too, and then of course shipping. So it is a lot of work on a seller's part. So a buyer does need to have a little bit of consideration for that. Another big thing that came up on the polls was being respectful with offers. Being respectful with offers. So that means if someone has a book posted, let's say for $100, not coming into the DMs or commenting on it, bin for 40, or I'll claim for 40. I'll take it for 40. it's a little ridiculous, right? Obviously they have that price on the book for a reason. If you think it's high, move on. Don't be trying to lowball sellers in a disrespectful way. If they have a little wiggle room to work, you can negotiate with them. There's nothing wrong with that. But throwing out some crazy offers like that is definitely, it can be a little disrespectful. And then as a seller, they're probably going to be a little bit more shut down or turned off towards you for throwing some crazy numbers out there. Another thing that really makes me cringe when I hear from people saying it, and this comes more at shows, is the phrase, what's the best you can do on it? What is the lowest you can go on it? That is just, I don't know. For me, if I was set up at a show and someone was like, what's the lowest you can go on it? I would just point at the sticker that I have on the book and be like, the sticker price, motherfucker. Because you're just being a jerk at that point. So that's like one of those phrases that I just can't stand. Maybe it's just me. It just rubs me the wrong way. So just be respectful when you're going into the negotiation process. Don't say what's the lowest you can go or anything like that, because you will rub sellers the wrong way, and then you're probably not going to get a deal from them at all. As a buyer, you should be able to spot condition yourself. You need to be able to you need to look through the book, make sure it is what you want to purchase before purchasing it. Like I said before, sometimes sellers do miss things, but as a buyer, when you're buying something, you should go through the condition of the book yourself, whether that's if you're in person taking the book out, looking through it, counting pages, checking the centerfold, front and back cover, everything like that, or if you're buying online, hey, do you mind sending me a couple more pictures or maybe like a video of the book? Wait the extra couple of minutes or hour or whatever for the seller to get back to you with some pictures instead of just being angry about it later. So you do need to have some kind of idea of how condition works, how grading works in your mind when you're buying a book. You can't just rely on a seller who may be overgrading or something like that. Kind of ties into that, but another thing, don't ask sellers if every one of their books is a 9.8 or something like that. Or like if you're after a book, oh, is this a 9.8? Oh, is that a 9.8? Is this a 9.8? Can you promise a 9.8? You can't promise a 9.8, especially with what's going on now with all the grading companies being absolutely crazy. It's really the difference between a 9.8 and a 9.4 or a 9.6 or anything like that is really just how the grader feels that day. Sometimes, I swear to God, I've seen 9.6 books that are just absolutely flawless and look like a 9.8. No seller can absolutely guarantee a 9.8 coming back from CGC. So don't ask, is it a 9.8? Because the answer is going to be no. And lastly, and this is more for in person or at a shop, be careful and respectful when handling another dealer's books that you have not purchased yet. I have seen people slapping books, slamming them down on the thing, going through. I've seen tape pulls happen live where they're not careful taking something out of a bag, and just the look on the seller's face as that's happening, like you don't want to damage someone else's stuff, especially if you haven't paid for it. So just be respectful, be kind when going through another person's books. That way you can avoid that situation altogether. And that wraps it up, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, all that usual nonsense. Leave a comment down below, the seller side or the buyer side, as far as etiquette practices, if I've missed anything, or you just want to point out anything else that could tie in. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay villainous.